This is Asghar Tanveer with Kashmir Panorama. Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, an international convention on civil and political rights to which India is signatory. India continues to ignore it. India is changing the demography of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir under its new colonialism plan. India's economic illusion, Modi's growth mirage, is unraveling. Moreover, India fears the impact of US crackdown on illegal immigration. As part of the anti-Muslim drive across India, 525 properties razed in the Gujarat's Bet Dwarka alone. This shows how democratic India is. Doctors have also confirmed poisoning as cause of mysterious Rajouri deaths that have been happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In addition to that, Shiv Sena demands end to the LG rule, restoration of the statehood in Kashmir. India has revoked non-profit status of investigative journalism in group. The media in India and across Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are barely the puppets of Rashtriya Samaksevak Sangh. Draconian laws are used by India as tools for suppressing dissent, stifling free speech, and controlling political opposition. States have a long history of employing draconian laws as a mean to stifle dissent, suppress people's voices, and quash their legitimate political demands. By the way, the Indian state, which still suffers from colonial hangover, is no longer an exception when it comes to the use of such colonial era tactics. Over the years, the respective Indian governments implemented a ruthless and repressive legal regime designed to strengthen its colonial grip over the territory of Kashmir and suppress indigenous population. The harsh laws enacted in the name of national security in Kashmir were used to justify surveillance, detention, and repression of dissent. The so-called anti-terror laws, on the other hand, gave sweeping powers to government authorities, granting them blanket of the impunity to target rights groups, activists, or dissenters, and putting limitations on fundamental rights such as freedom of speech, assembly, or association. These laws also empowered the authorities to stifle criticism of the government and its policies, maintain the status quo, and prevent marginalized groups from advocating their rights. The world human rights bodies have consistently raised alarm over the misuse of anti-terror laws in Kashmir region, where authorities have consistently and without consequences abused and exploited these laws for decades. Decried for their vague language, broad scope, and potential for abuse, the widespread application of these notorious laws has resulted in a decline in democratic freedoms and human rights, not only in Kashmir but other parts of India. In Kashmir, these laws have been arbitrarily used to detain political leaders, activists, and journalists without fair trial, stifle protests and demonstrations, censor free speech and expression, and silence the oppressing and opposing voices. The ripple effect of these laws goes beyond just individuals. They are also responsible for shrinking the civic space in Kashmir through over-regulation and arbitrary and disproportionate targeting of opposition and civil society activists. Arbitrary arrests, no-fly lists, banning of political and charitable organizations, increasing surveillance and deteriorating personal privacy, along with the blurring of lines between lawful dissent and illegal activities are part of the legacy of these laws. The Unlawful Activities Prevention Act is a controversial piece of legislation in India that has significant implications for civil liberties and human rights, particularly in the context of Jammu and Kashmir. Originally enacted in 1967 to combat secessionism and terrorism, the UAPA has been amended multiple times, with the most recent amendments in 2019 expanding its scope and powers. This article that I am talking about refers to the stripping of the Article 35A and 350 of the Indian Constitution that has ripped the Kashmiris of their special status. Arbitrary detention, freedom of expression, and right to fair trial. Everything has been stripped away. One of the most concerning aspects of the UAPA is its potential for arbitrary detention. The law allows for the arrest of individuals on the grounds of suspicion of involvement in unlawful activities, which can include a broad range of actions deemed to threaten the integrity and sovereignty of India. In Jammu and Kashmir, where the security situation is fragile and the political climate is tense, the application of the UAPA has led to widespread arrest of individuals, often without substantial evidence. Under the UAPA, individuals can be detained for extended period of time, up to 180 days, without formal charges. This provision has been criticized for undermining the right to liberty and due process. In practice, many detainees are held for long periods without trial, leading to a backlog of cases and prolonged uncertainty for families. The lack of transparency in the detention process raises serious concerns about the potential for abuse and the violation of human rights.